Hello everyone, this is Mr. 206. We are back with another Wild Wednesday video. Today's video is a tier list of my favorite survival games. But these are a very specific kind of survival game. Since the genre of survival is so broad, it encompasses a lot of games. So the specific survival game that I'm talking about today is classified by Steam as Open World Survival Craft. Okay, now that we cleared that up, let me also state that these are the games that I have played. I know there are a lot more open world survival craft games than this, but these are the ones I've played and have opinions about. I'm not going to talk or make opinions about games I haven't played before, as that's not fair to them and to you guys. This video is definitely going to be long, so let's just get right into it. The games aren't really in order. I just went down the Steam page putting in the games that I have in there, and if I thought of anything at the time or outside of Steam, then I ended up putting it in. Also, a lot of these games do have different versions, like Minecraft. You've got like the beta versions, 1.12, and then like the latest release. When I'm talking about the games, I'm talking about the latest release and also unmodded as well. All right, let's get right into it. 7 Days to Die. This is a very good survival game. So the way this game is structured is after you've made your character, you've got quests. Now these quests are optional, but you definitely do want to do them as they reward you with really good loot. Now there are a bunch of different quests, but I'm going to be talking about 3 of them real quick. First one is a buried treasure quest, and it's the first quest you're going to get in the game. Basically, there's a hidden stash. You got to go to a certain point. Once you're at that point, there's going to be a circle that shows up. You got to dig in that circle. The closer you get to the buried treasure, the smaller the circle becomes. That way, you know you're getting closer to the treasure. Open it up, get the items, get attacked by some zombies, deliver your quest, get some rewards. That one's pretty straightforward, simple. The other quests are the good ones. You can either do a clear quest or a stash quest. They both pretty much do the same thing. So to talk about this quest, I got to talk about the way this game's locations are done. So basically every location or building is like handcrafted to almost be like a dungeon in another game. So basically you start at the entrance and every room has a couple of zombies. Now there's a stealth mechanic, but the mechanic doesn't really work with the way the room's layouts are done. Basically, once you enter a certain point of the room or once you attack a zombie, the rest of the zombies in that room will get aggroed. Kill them, continue on to the next room. Now, these buildings also have some puzzles. Like, let's say you're on the second floor of a house and one of the rooms is locked. Maybe you have to jump out of the window of the adjacent room, walk on the roof to get to the window of that locked room. Maybe that locked room is like the final room of that building. In that room, there's typically going to be a few more zombies or maybe like a special zombie. And then there's also going to be a bunch of loot. Now, if it was a clear quest, all you have to do is kill all the zombies in that building. If it was a stash quest, somewhere in that building, there is a hidden stash. You just got to find it and take the items from it. Once you do one of those 2 things, then you can just go back, turn in your quest. And that's what I like about this game. The quests take you to a different building, and each building is super interesting to explore. Now, there really isn't much lore in this game. It's just the cool scenarios that happen every time you clear a building. Now, the good thing is the buildings are replayable. After a couple days, or if you get a quest in that building, the buildings will reset, thus randomizing the loot, the zombies, and some furniture inside as well. Although the layout of the building isn't usually the same, it's randomized enough where it keeps it interesting. Now, just like any good open world survival craft game, there are different zones, and the different zones do get more difficult. And in this game, that means more zombies and special zombies. Like the cop zombie, who's a big fat guy who vomits projectiles at you. Or like a giant zombie bear. Now, this game doesn't have an ending. You just keep going until you get bored, pretty much. Which to me is kind of fine, because when it comes to these open world survival craft games, I kind of just play until I get bored. Or if I do complete the story, it's because it's usually a short story. Now, I really enjoy 7 Days to Die. I first played this game roughly about a year and a half ago with my friends. We enjoyed it. Super fun time. Oh, and how could I forget about that? The game is called 7 Days to Die. So on the night of every 7 days, there is a blood moon. And during that blood moon, you're going to be onslaughted by like a bunch of zombies. And every blood moon, it gets more difficult. More zombies and more special zombies as well. So what me and my friends did was we found a building. We surrounded the building with walls, and then we built a moat around that building filled with spike traps. So it was kind of like we had our own little castle. Now, like the first few blood moons, it was fine, but eventually we got to the point where there were a bunch of special zombies, like the vomiting cop zombies. There were the vultures, the jumping dudes, and also eventually there were the suicide bomber dudes, which made things a bit more difficult, but manageable enough. Like I said, we really enjoyed ourselves. One of my favorite survival craft games. Thus, I'm gonna put this game in a solid A tier. I was thinking about putting it in S tier, but it's the start of the list. I kind of need to ground myself a little bit more. All right, next up, Conan Exiles. Now, me and my friends literally just recently started playing this, like probably a week and a half ago. Really fun game. I bought us all the game at around Christmas. I played it a little bit then. It was fine. I only played it for like an hour. But now with my friends, it is a lot better. This game's pretty straightforward. You make your character. There are weapon and armor types, but you can use any weapon and armor type. Although once you start leveling up, you can put levels into certain skills, which do make some of the weapons slightly better. But it's not like a big enough difference where you can't use like a daggers to like a double-handed mace without like really losing power. The thing I really like about this game is that you can capture, in the game they're called thralls, but it's just slaves. Me and my friends have basically just become slavers in this game. We raid bandit camps, capture the strong people, break them on the wheel of pain, and then force them to work or follow us as like battle companions. Personally, I'm more of an animal tamer, similar to the thralls of slaves, except they can't craft. They're animals. Later on, you can get mounts like horses and camels. If you have the DLC, you can also ride rhinos, although we don't have the DLC. Like I said, this game is really fun. I would say we're roughly below the midpoint of the game. We've had a lot of fun. There aren't really quests in this game. There are like dungeons and bandit camps you can clear out. Although we haven't completed any of like the dungeons, we're still kind of doing the survival part of the game. This is a good game, but it's pretty basic. Other than like the slavery part, this game is pretty good, but it's pretty basic. The combat is good and rewarding. I'll give it that. Oh, this is a tough one. This is either going to be like, this is like floating between like an A and a B for me. I'm going to put it on a B for now. Maybe if I change my mind later, it'll be like a really low A tier. All right, up next, Abiotic Factor. This is basically just open world survival craft of the first Half-Life game. You're scientists trapped in a giant facility. There are aliens and soldiers, and your objective is to escape. Now, I like the way this game progresses, as it is kind of like a story-focused survival game. For instance, when you start the game and you complete like the tutorial zone, you open up like the entrance of the facility. Now, there are a few zones in the entrance, but ultimately you'll find a garage door. Now, there's a guy laying in front of the garage door, basically telling you to get a battery for a forklift he's laying on, so you can open up the next zone. And instead of just like finding this battery, you have to craft this battery. This game's crafting has like a little gimmick, which I like, where if you find like a new item, once it's in your inventory, you will get an alert. You can invent a new item, right, that you can craft. Now, I don't remember what the exact recipe for the battery is, but it's like some electrical components, some wires, and then also like in a core from one of the robots. This game does have a day-night cycle, and during the night cycle is when the robots wake up. Now, the robots are really big, super strong, and tanky. So you can cheese it, you can straight up fight them, or do it with friends, like I did. Once you defeat that robot, you get its core. With that core, you're able to craft the battery, put the battery in the forklift, continue on to the next zone. That's how you get to the different zones. But throughout the facility, you can also find portals. Now, these portals take you to like an instance, right? Now, one of these instances is essential to the game story, which is basically there's a portal. By the portal, there's some hazmat suits. You have to wear the hazmat suits because in that portal, it's irradiated. In the portal, you're like in an abandoned town. And in that town, there are like these giant alien dudes. Now, your mission in this area is to find three machines and turn them off. So you go building to building, being chased by these giant dudes, finding those machines, turning them off, and getting the battery or piece from them. And then with that battery or piece, you need it in order to get to another zone in the facility, right? And you know, every time you get to a new part of the facility, you get new items. With those new items, you discover new things to craft, get stronger, rinse and repeat until you complete the game. Now, we didn't end up finishing the game. I think we probably got like through 80% of the game or something like that. But it was a good game. It was a really good game. I eventually want to go back in and finish it myself. Now, this is a good open world survival craft game, and the progression system is really nice. When you enter a zone, you have to figure out where you're supposed to go next, which typically requires a new item. You have to explore that zone, until you're eventually able to craft that item. You get better gear as you're getting that item. And there's also lore sprinkled all throughout the facility telling you what's happening, and rinse and repeat until you get to the end. It's a good layout, it's a good cycle, it keeps you intrigued from beginning to end. Thus, I'm gonna have to give this one an A tier. Very underrated. I don't hear this game talked about enough. Now, up next, Ark Survival Evolved and Ascended. I fucking love this game. In my opinion, this is the best, the pinnacle of open world survival craft games. So before I even talk more about this game, top of S tier. This game is perfect. Cue the Homelander meme.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Basically, the way this game starts, you create your character, cutscene plays. It's a woman telling you have to find a way to escape the Ark and find her. And you get thrown onto the beach of a giant island. The island is filled with dinosaurs, and you can tame all of these dinosaurs. And every dinosaur has their uses. Now, at the beginning, you'll be taming dinosaurs like Dilophosauruses, which are these little raptor-looking dudes which spit venom, which slows down enemies, and like parasaurs, which are like these bigger bipedal dinosaurs. And their use is that once you build a base, they'll alert you of any nearby monsters, right? And you'll get something like a triceratops. Go to combat mount, and it's good at collecting berries as well. And at the start of the game, it's a good dinosaur to kill those alpha raptors, which there are alphas in this game, which are basically like boss dinos out in the world. As your character levels up, you're able to learn new recipes, which are like new items, upgrades of items, and saddles in order to ride the better dinos. As let's say at the beginning of the game, you're able to somehow tame a T-Rex. You're not going to be able to actually ride that T-Rex until you're like level 60 or something. Although you're not going to be able to tame a Rex at the start of the game. Just because you're not able to ride it doesn't mean it's not useful, as they will still fight for you as long as they're following you. Now, this game has dungeons. The first map, the island, has like 9 dungeons if I'm not wrong. Now, these dungeons have like certain sizes. Now, the first dungeon that you're going to go to is near the spawn zone. You're only allowed to bring like dinosaurs that are slightly bigger than you. So you can bring in something like a raptor, but you can't bring in something like a trike. Now, these dungeons are filled with a bunch of different enemy types, but in the first dungeon, they're called caves, by the way. In the first cave, it's filled with a bunch of like giant insects. Now, each cave is kind of laid out the same, which is early on, there'll be 2 paths. One path leads you to an artifact, which is an item you need in order to fight the bosses, which are why you're doing the caves in the first place. You need these artifacts to continue to do the main story. And then the other path just is kind of like loot. There are drops in the caves that have a bunch of loot. Go down them. It's pretty good loot. Now, as you continue on, you go to more dangerous caves with more dangerous enemies. For instance, around the midpoint of the game, there's going to be a cave, which is like a smaller cave like the first one, but it's filled with like poisonous gas. Now, in order to complete that cave, you're going to need to get scuba gear in order to go through that cave without you dying. Like I said, scuba gear. 2 of the caves are underwater caves, which then completely shifts the game, as then you're now focusing on the underwater teams like megalodons. And like the final caves are like big caves. For instance, one of the ice caves is huge, enough where you can bring in something like a T-Rex in. And you're going to need that T-Rex because in that cave, everything's upgraded. You're no longer fighting insects. You're fighting hordes of like bears and wolves. Now, eventually, once you clear out all the caves, you'll have all the artifacts you need to fight the 3 bosses, which on the island is the Broodmother, which is basically just a giant spider. You have the Mesopithecus, I believe it is, which is like a giant frost ape. Basically, you're fighting King Kong. And then you have the dragon boss, just a giant dragon, right? Once you defeat those 3 bosses, then you're able to fight the final boss. Before we talk about him, let's talk about the lore a little bit. So as you're playing the game, you'll find a bunch of different kinds of explore notes, they're called. Now, there are explore notes, I think, from like 4 or 5 different characters. And the explore notes can be something like talking about a dinosaur in depth, like a Pokédex entry, basically, for that dinosaur. Some of them talk about lore and the characters themselves. The thing I love about this game is once you complete that final boss, the game's not over. You have defeated and escaped that Ark, and now you're sent to a different Ark, a different world. Now, the second one is Scorched Earth, which adds a bunch of new dinosaurs and gets rid of some of the old dinosaurs. It's basically just a giant desert planet. For instance, like you're not going to be able to find trikes anymore. Instead, you're going to find Morellatops, They both fill kind of the same niche, but the Morellatops is different because you're on a giant desert planet. The Morellatops is able to hold water. Because you're in the desert, you're going to be constantly thirsty. I believe the game has like 5 or 6 canon arcs worlds that you're able to do. But the first one itself is a goddamn masterpiece in my opinion. Nothing really beats the island. Yeah, it's a survival game with a purpose. And taming the dinosaurs is super fun. You get really attached to these dinosaurs. And then it hurts you. It fucking hurts when your favorite dino dies. I have a compilation of my playthrough of Scorched Earth with my friends. And on there, I had a iguanodon named Magnum Opus. That was my baby, my cinnamon apple. And as I was crafting our giant base, Magnum Opus ended up getting killed by a Megatherium. And then from that day forth, I basically declared war on the Megatherium, killing them whenever possible. And that's how you know you're playing a good game. When you're basically crafting your own lore just by playing it. And just by playing the game, you give yourself lifetime goals. Like me, wanting to kill all the Megatherium. Because it killed my iguanodon. In my opinion, masterpiece. This is the peak of the open world survival craft genre. Alright, let's stop glazing it. Let's go next. Bellwright. It's pretty good. Basically, make your character. You get some more. I think your family died or something. And you're going to meet your uncle to basically start a new life. And your uncle basically tells you that the people who killed your family are in the region. And that it's your job to basically kill them. And also free the villages of their presence as well. While basically creating your own village at the same time. And the game loop with this game is pretty good. Basically, the way this game is played is you find an area you want to build your village at. You craft some of the basics, some armor, some small buildings, some crafting stations, and then you go to one of the other many villages. Now, this isn't a requirement. Now, at the villages, you can talk to like the chief of the village, right? You do some quests for them. You gain popularity in the village. Once you're popular enough, you're able to convince some of the villagers to basically come to your village and become like your people. Now that's completely optional. You don't have to do that, but you're going to want to do that because your village gets raided by these bandits every once in a while. And the combat is surprisingly tough. Everyone is pretty weak and everybody also does big damage. Basically at the start of the game, you can kill someone in like 3 or 4 hits, right? The same enemies can also kill you in 3 or 4 hits. You know, everyone's on equal ground. So in order to get the upper hand on the enemies, you want to get a bunch of your own followers and villagers, and you want to kit them out as well, right? You basically got to build a militia. Once you have your people, you're able to raid bandit camps and build bigger structures. Like I said, you're able to do this all by yourself, but it's heavily encouraged that you get villagers. Eventually, once you're able to craft the bigger buildings, even with like 10 villagers, those buildings can take up to like 1 to 2 hours to craft. As before that building is built, you put down like a blueprint of that building. And in order to craft the building, you and your people have to put down each individual plank of wood. The walls, the roof, the ground, the furniture inside. You have to get the nails. You have to get the ropes. And it takes forever. And that's the unique and also the good and the bad of this game. The beginning of the game, smooth sailing. You're doing your quests. You're getting new villagers. You're building some new buildings. You're giving everyone gear. You're having them do some automated tasks, right? But once you get to like the middle point and the end of the game, it becomes a fucking slog. Because like I said, you gotta build these buildings and they take actual fucking hours to craft. And I was playing this with my friends. We all spent like an hour with like 2 villagers to craft this building because we had like our little starter village and then we had our like medium tier village. And I don't even think we finished the medium tier village because we just got burned out from building so many goddamn buildings. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. The combat isn't the greatest either. Straightforward. Click, your dude swings, does damage. Nothing fancy, serviceable, you know? Now I can see the vision that these guys had, but I have the same issue with this game that I have with like Red Dead Redemption, right? Where it tries to go too realistic, too over the top realistic, and really slow. That the game stops going from fun to being too realistic and no longer fun. You know, I came here to play a game and have some fun. I don't want to feel like I'm playing a job, you know? I mean, it's a fine game. I could see my friends coming back to this game and playing the first area, but once we get to that middle point, we'll probably stop again. But like the first third of the game, it's good. It's good. It was just plagued by slow, monotonous realism. And thus, I'm going to give this a low C tier. If there were more games, it would be like down here somewhere. All right, up next, DayZ. an old classic. Now, I remember as a kid seeing all the videos about this game, and I really wanted to play. It looked fun, you know? But then I got the game, and then I played the game. And this game, I'm gonna be straight up with you, sports fans. This game fucking sucks. It's a pioneer of its genre, which is the open world survival craft with zombies. And this game was good when it was made, but it no longer holds up. There are new games that basically wanted to do something similar to this and executed it a lot better. Basically, in this game, you create your survivor, you loot some buildings, avoid or kill some zombies, rinse and repeat until you get bored of the game. If you're playing on a server, find another survivor, kill or be killed. It's pretty much it. I don't even think this game has like building survival mechanics. It's just straight up gearing up your guy until you get bored of it and engaging in PvP. Like I said, it's fine for what it was when it first came out, but they never really evolved past that. I know there are people out there who enjoy this game. I'm not one of them. This is going to be like the last open world survival game that I'll ever pretty much choose. Thus, this one, bottom of D tier. You know, we're going to break the list a little bit here. I'm gonna do Scum first, since it's on topic with DayZ. Scum is like the newer and better brother of DayZ. Basically, same concept as DayZ, but it was executed slightly better. Keyword slightly. You make your character. Cool thing about this game, when you make the body of your character, you can make them like small and dainty, which gives them like good stamina, maybe pretty sneaky, but they probably can't carry a lot of weight or do a lot of damage with melee weapons. Or you can make them like big and fat, which for some reason in this game, when you're fat, you're really smart. But that also means you have like no stamina. If you run for like more than like 5 seconds, your dude's gonna be winded and your carry weight's pretty average. Or you can make like a big brolic strong dude. Maybe they've got a lot of carry weight. They're probably dumb as hell. Average stamina. Now, I never really figured out what the intelligence stat was since I didn't play this game long enough to figure out what I was supposed to do with the intelligence stat. Now, as I play the game, you can eat food or not eat food in order to build your character to what you want. Maybe you build your dude really fat at the beginning. You just not eat for a couple days. Your dude will lose some weight. Now, this game's similar to DayZ. There are a bunch of little towns filled with like zombies. But in some areas, there are like giant robots as well. So instead of fighting a bunch of the same zombie, you can also fight like these giant robots. I believe there are special zombies as well, although I don't really remember them. And I know this game does have a building mechanic, although I never got to that point. And I never really played on a PvP server. But this game is DayZ, just done slightly better. But still, ultimately, just DayZ. I'm not going to pick this genre of open world survival craft to play those kinds of games. Thus, I'm going to have to give this game, Scum, a D tier as well. But it is going to be right above DayZ. So it is just a slightly better version of DayZ. Alright, up next, Enshrouded. I played this game a little bit with my friends. It was fine. I don't know if this game has like a main story or if there's even an end yet. But from what I remember, you make your character, escape a little dungeon area, and then the world is opened up to you. Now, like the title, this game has certain zones that are enshrouded. These enshrouded zones are covered in like a fog. Now, somewhere in this fog, there's like a layer. And in that layer, you have to destroy like this giant fog tree or mushroom, I think it is. And once you destroy that tree or mushroom, then that area gets cleared of the enshrouded fog. But this tree and mushroom thing is like its own like little dungeon, which is filled with enemies, and at the end there is a boss. And you have to defeat the boss before you can destroy the tree mushroom thing. Now, in order to clear these, you know, you have to prepare. So you build your base, crafting stations, make your gear, you know. Now, the one unique thing about this game is that you have like these wingsuits, these kites, which if you're high up, you can travel across the land pretty easily. As you progress through the game, you're going to get to new zones, and those new zones, there's going to be tougher enemies, tougher dungeons. So you have to craft better gear and better your stats as well. Now, this game does kind of class lock you. You could be like the fighter, you can be the archer, or you can be the mage. As you do level up and get skill points, you can specialize into one of those different 3 archetypes. I think there are more archetypes, but those are like the general ones. Now, if you're specializing your character as a fighter, you're not going to do too well with like magic stuff, and vice versa. And eventually you want to craft better gear, right? Well, in order to craft those better gears, you have to have the stations. Not only that, but you need to have an NPC who can craft the stuff for you. Now, in some spots of the map, there are like these facilities filled with enemies. Now, somewhere in those facilities, you're going to find like these survivors, these NPCs. Your objective, clear the facility, save the NPC, bring them back to your base. Once they're in your base, they'll allow you to craft new upgraded things. Clear enshrouded areas, get new NPCs, upgrade your equipment, rinse and repeat. It was fine, but me and my friends quickly got bored of this game. From what I remember, the world was actually pretty huge too. Once you play the game for roughly about like 5 hours, you pretty much experience the entire game. You're going to be doing the same things with more difficult enemies and with better gear until eventually you clear out the whole area. Like I said, I don't remember if there's an end game, but if there is, there really wasn't anything pushing you towards it. Average game, average game. Thus, I'm going to put this game at C tier, right above Bellray. Alright, next up, The Forest. This game was super popular when it first came out. This is a more story-focused survival crafting game. Basically, you start the game, you're some guy on a plane with your son, the plane crashes, and your son gets abducted by some tribal people. Your objective, find your son and escape the island. Now, me and my friends played through this game probably about 2 different times. We probably only got to around like a quarter way through the game, but it was fun for what it was. Basically, you're just gonna craft your base. Your base gets raided every once in a while by these tribal people. As you're building your base and defending from raids, you also adventure out into the world to find these caves and get clues to finding your son. Eventually, you'll find your son, and I don't know what happens already because I never finished the game. I never even found my son. It's a pretty average game. It's a good game, though. But for how basic and how bare bones it actually is, I want to put it at a low B, but it's not. It's going to go top of C tier. There also is The Forest 2. Now, I played this game a little bit with my friend. He was not enjoying it, so we only played roughly about like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Not enough for me to form a solid opinion of it. One thing I would have to say is that the second game performs extremely well. It looks extremely impressive, and it runs really good for lower end computers. That was when I had the 1080 Ti, and it looked fucking amazing. But now I have a 9070 XT. I bet that game would look even better on that. Like I said, not enough to form an opinion on it, thus it's not on the list. Next up, Generation Zero. I think we only played this game for probably like 4 or 5 hours. I don't remember if there's a main story, but from what I remember, you make your character, you get some gear, find some items. Out in the open world, there are these giant machines, and you can fight them if you want. There are different locations. Like I remember me and my friends, I think we went to like a farm or something, and there was a giant machine there. We ended up sneaking through the area, collecting loot, and eventually we did end up bringing down the machine. But that was pretty much the most of it. I think we started moving towards a different town, and then we ended up getting off. We never replayed the game again. Like I said, I don't know if this game has a main story. Definitely wasn't presented to us that it did when we originally played it, or maybe we weren't just paying attention. The combat was fine. It's an open world survival craft game, but it's an FPS at the same time, and you're fighting giant robots. One of my friends really enjoyed it. I was alright with it. I think my other friend was fine with it as well. I don't think any of us were truly craving to like continue playing this game. It was very mediocre, and there actually wasn't much to do other than like go to different zones, get better gear, fight big robots. And the robots were actually pretty sparse. There aren't that many enemies. Yeah, but if this game had a lot more to do, then I would play it. But until then, I probably won't end up playing it again. This game also gonna go to C tier. Actually, no, it's gonna go to a D tier. Better than DayZ, but I would say it's not as good as Scum. I kind of enjoyed Scum. All right, next up, Green Hill. Now this game has 2 different modes. You got the story mode, and then you've got like the survival mode. Now the story mode does have all the things of the survival mode, but it's pretty short and it is pretty story focused. I ended up playing both. So let me quickly go over the story. Basically, you're a dude, you and your wife go to like the Amazon or something, and it's filled with like tribe people. Now you guys are there to like establish a connection between you and the tribe people. That's all you really know at the beginning. Your wife ends up going to the tribe people, and something happens and you pass out. And then you wake up on a different part of the island, and your objective, find your wife and escape the island. Now the story is actually really good at this. This game has 2 endings. Like I said, the survival aspect is there, although it's more to pad out the time than to actually do the survival part. I think the game has like 4 different zones. Basically, you got to figure out how to get to the next zone. Typically, there's an item that you need in order to get to that next zone. Once you find that item, you go to the next zone. Rinse and repeat 4 times. Now, this is the one thing I hate, I don't like about this game, is that the survival in this game is fucking brutal. And the spawning system of like enemies and animals is fucking terrible. Basically, you're constantly going to be going like a mile an hour as you're walking through the jungle. Because if you don't, you're going to fucking die. Basically, the floor is filled with like spiders and snakes and stuff like that. And if they bite you, you're going to spend the next 20 minutes keeping yourself alive. And even if you're trying to do that, you're probably going to still end up dying anyways. a majority of this game is getting poisoned and it's trying to stay alive, which is fucking terrible. Now, the first time I played this game, I didn't know how short the main story was, so I ended up building like 2 bases and putting a lot of effort into them. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed building those bases, but you don't have to. And you'll realize something pretty quick. You came to the island to make contact with these tribe people. Now, as you're walking around normally, you won't see any tribe people, but this game has a sanity meter. If your sanity gets low enough, you will eventually start seeing these tribe people, and they will fucking kill you. Hint, hint. And also, as you're traveling through the zones, you'll find little points of interest. For instance, in one of the zones, you'll find a bunch of dilapidated, like in the first zone, you'll find one of these villages, but it's completely abandoned. There's no one there. Your guy just assumes, hey, there's nobody here. Instead of trying to figure out where everybody went, I'm gonna do some ayahuasca. Thus, that's what you do. You do hard drugs, and then you find a grappling hook to get to the next area. Also, in one of the areas, you'll find a point of interest, which is basically just a bunch of shitty huts, which were actually used to make drugs. It was not by the tribes people, it was definitely by some outside people. Now, at the end of the game, in the final zone, you'll get to like a makeshift laboratory. Now, in these notes, you'll find out that some people came over here to try and get a medicine for some kind of disease, and that it's urgent that they figure it out soon. But everybody's dead, and the building is dilapidated, as if it's been there for a really long time. Now, you're most likely going to complete the game normally. You're not really going to figure out what happened. You're just going to progress to the next zone, thinking it's just like another point of interest. Now, in the final zone, there's going to be another empty tribe and another place for you to do ayahuasca. And that's where all the lore gets revealed to you, which is basically the first part of the game where you're with your wife happened a long time ago. I'm talking about years ago, probably like 5 or 10 years ago. Basically, you and your wife show up. You guys discover the cure to like cancer or something, I think it was, using some kind of like medicine you found in the Amazon there. Once you guys did that, a bunch of companies came over to the Amazon in order to get the resources to make more medicine. And also a bunch of criminals came over, made their own medicine, and used the area to make drugs, right? Thus, you and your wife, by discovering that area and finding the cure, you guys indirectly killed all the tribes people. The tribes people have all been dead for a long time. So when your sanity is low, thus the reason why you never actually encounter tribes people, other than when your sanity is low. Because you're literally going batshit insane imagining the tribes people. Also, after some time, turns out the medicine you and your wife made and all these companies made actually secretly made everyone super sick. And you guys created an apocalyptic event, a mega COVID-19 pretty much, where I think it was like half of the world's population died or something like that. At some point, you figured out your wife caught that disease, and you as the main character, you swear that you're gonna save her, so you go back to the Amazon to figure out the cure. Well, she's begging you to not go and just basically stay with her before she dies. And this is the one thing I like about the lore. At the end of that ayahuasca trip, your dude kind of goes insane as he hallucinates the tribe's people and the wife chasing him through the rainforest. And your dude ends up falling off a cliff, leading back to the start of the game, right after that whole section with your wife. So basically, if you complete the game normally, you're trapped in a cycle. Your dude does the same thing, goes in a circle, gets to the end, trips the fuck out, falls down that cliff, and the cycle repeats. Now, in order to get the good ending, when you're at the laboratory, you have to make the medicine, the cure, which is basically a poison dart frog, right? You make the cure. Now, earlier in the game, there was like a really shitty airstrip. Now, the first time you go there, you are able to contact someone. You let them know who you are, and they're basically like, they don't like you because as you found out, you basically created the disease. So they don't give a shit about you. They don't care if you die or not, and they're not sending any help. And also because of the cycle, like I said, you've come back multiple times to basically ask for help, and they don't like you, and you've done it multiple times, so they're annoyed and they don't give a shit. But when you're going for the second ending, you come back and you let them know, hey, I found the cure. I'm not crazy. Come get me. And then they actually come get you. And that's where you make amends with your psyche. And you're basically like, I killed these tribe people. I could have been there with my wife, but she died a long time ago. And I'm going to try and make things right by providing the cure. That's where the game ends. Now, there is the other mode of the game, which is like the survival mode. It's basically what happened after the cutscene of the first part of the game, which is your wife goes to meet some tribes people, disappears, and you go and figure out what happened. Basically, there's a bunch of different tribes. You've got to go to them, do some quests, gain their trust, and then they'll give you hints on be able to find your wife. Now, like I said, I don't like the survival aspect of this game. It's really fucking annoying dealing with all these poisonous animals everywhere. And your dude is constantly thirsty and hungry. So you spend a lot of your time just kind of huddled at your base, either making food and water or trying to recover from being poisoned. And the quests, they're kind of shitty. And I think it's only like 4 different quests. The only quests I really remember, the village, the kids have kind of run off into the jungle. Your job, find them and get them back to the village. But when they see you, they're gonna run. So you have to catch them. And like I said, you do not want to run through the jungle because there are a bunch of fucking animals everywhere that are going to poison the shit out of you. If you're able to catch a kid without getting poisoned, then you have to leave them back to the village. But the thing is, those are some little shits and you're carrying them in your arm. And after a certain amount of time, those little shits are going to break out of your fucking arm and they're going to go running again, which means you're at an even higher chance of getting poisoned again. You got to do that a couple times until eventually you get back to the village. So fucking annoying. And the thing is, the trust of these tribes people is extremely fucking slow. You gotta do these quests like fucking 50 times to earn the trust of one of the villages. And I think there are like 4 different villages. I ended up playing the survival game probably for like a week straight. And I think I only cleared like 1.5 villages. And I was not gonna, that game was so fucking annoying, dude. I hate the survival aspect of this game. I hate the poison. The poison is what fucking pisses me off. Now, luckily I didn't play this with my friends, because I saw videos of people playing it with their friends and it was even worse. Because like I said, there's the sanity system. And if one of your friends fucking dies, that's going to shoot down everyone's sanity. And when people's sanity gets low, they end up being killed by the hallucinated tribes people. Which makes it a vicious cycle of right when somebody dies, it's going to be a constant cycle of you guys going batshit insane and getting killed by tribesmen and rinse and repeat. Honestly, the story of this game, I liked it. It was good. I really like the story of this game. The survival of this game fucking sucks. And I'm glad I did the survival mode without my friends. Because if I would have done it with them, I would have been fucking livid. But we are rating these games based off the genre of the open world survival craft. And this game, it was fine, right? But that poison system pissed me the fuck off. Thus, I'm going to put this on D tier. Well, right above Daisy. At least Green Hell had something going for it. Daisy has nothing going for it. If I was rating this solely based off the single player, this game could easily be like a B tier, an A tier, just for the story. But the survival, fucking terrible. All right, next up, Icarus. Now, I didn't play this game for long. I only played it because my friends were telling me that they played it, and I wanted to play it too. Because one of them said it was good. I shouldn't have fucking listened to him. Basically, you're like an astronaut, and you get sent to a planet, and you're doing some freelance work for like some people, right? But you never actually see anyone. You've got like a little handheld device, and that's what gives you the quest. And because you're an astronaut and the atmosphere isn't good for you to breathe, you've got to be constantly grinding on this game. You got to destroy these rocks in order to get oxygen so that you can play the actual game. And the game, it's not good. I don't think I ever actually did any of the quests, but basically it's just a hunting game. There's a bunch of animals everywhere. Kill the animals, build your base, upgrade your base, and loot. Every once in a while, there are gonna be some environmental hazards, which fucking suck because they break your fucking buildings. And if you're not at your building while the hazard is going on, you're gonna die then. Not only that, but your base is being destroyed at the same time. And if you're not at your base, your building's gonna get destroyed and you're gonna be dead at the same time, which means you start from fucking zero. Now then, luckily that never happened to me, but it's something that could happen to someone if you didn't know. Now, I think the way you're supposed to play this game is do the quests. Those quests might lead you to a different zone, but the quests are going to be something like hunt this animal. Pretty much it. There's like no story other than quests. You're not like motivated to progress because you're constantly going to be trying to keep yourself alive. You have to deal with your air. You have to deal with your food. You have to deal with your water. And this game is so fucking tedious, dude. And it's boring as hell. At least with Green Hell, there was some emotion. With me being fucking angry all the time from all this fucking poison. With Icarus, game's fucking boring. I don't think I've ever played such a boring game in my life before. Thus, this game, it's gonna be at the bottom of D tier. The one thing Daisy did that Icarus didn't was that it was at least interesting at some point in the game. Icarus, I was never interested in playing. At any time during the game, I just didn't care, you know? And when I played the game, I really wanted to care because my friend said it was good and I believed him. So I was like, at some point, this game is gonna get good. And then I continued, and then I continued playing, and I continued, and never at any point did it get interesting. All right, now I can talk about something actually good. Kenshi. This game is fucking terrible and great at the same time. Basically, when you start the game, there's a few scenarios that you can start the game at. Now, the base one, you're some poor dude in a poor town. That's pretty much it. This game has 0 objectives. The objective is what you give yourself. So you'd think, if there are 0 objectives, why do you think this game is good? This game is not just an open world survival craft game. I always hear this term thrown around whenever people talk about Kenshi. It's a story generator. You're like, what does that mean? Well, this is the thing. Let's say we're sticking with that base story. Poor guy down on his luck. Now, usually the first time people play this game, what they want to do, they want to gear themselves up. They want to fight some enemies. They want to build a base, you know? But then you quickly find out, you leave the town and try and figure out how to make money. And then you're going to get your ass kicked by a group of starving bandits. Some malnourished people with nothing but fucking loincloths and clubs. At least you have like a sword, right? You've got some clothes. You can handle yourself, right? No, your dude's going to get stomped in the fucking dirt. And he's going to be incapacitated. But after getting his ass whooped, maybe your guy learned how to fight a little bit better. He learned how to take a few more hits. And then the next time you fight those bandits, maybe you take down 1. And the next time you fight them, maybe you take down 2. And do that a couple times. And eventually your guy is able to defeat that group of bandits. And then you take their loot. You go back to the village, you go back to the town, you sell their loot, and then you're able to hire someone at the bar. Now you have 2 people. You kid out this guy a little bit, and then you go fight another group of bandits. You're able to defeat the bandits, but your new guy gets his ass whooped. And now you're upset. And then you're like, huh, this area's cool. Maybe I'll go discover one of these other zones. So you go to the north, a place called Okran's Pride. Now you enter the village just fine, but when they see your companion is actually like an alien dude. Now these humans at Okran's Pride, they don't like your alien dude. They think your alien dude is your slave. Not only that, they ask you if you're carrying a Bible around. You say no, so they give you a Bible. And they say you have to carry that Bible around with you at all times, or else they're gonna beat your ass. So you hold on to that Bible. And you're like, this place is pretty cool. So you decide to build a base nearby. You make some money, you get a new companion, a female. And then you realize every week, a group of soldiers from the town show up. And they want you to come out with your Bible and pray with them. And if you don't pray with them, or if you don't have your Bible, they're going to destroy your fucking base. And if they don't destroy your base, they're going to hawk loogies at your alien dude. They're going to hawk loogies at your new female follower. They're deeply sexist. Now you really like your people, and this pisses you off. So you decide to move. You go back south, and then you go to the west a little bit, and you find a different nation. Now these guys have some different alien dudes. And these guys are like barbarians. All they want to do is whoop ass. And all you want to do is whoop Okran ass. You know, the religious people. So then you build a base with these barbarian dudes. Make money, you become rich. You get stronger, your people fight. You hire a bunch of these new alien barbarian dudes. Now you have like 20 people. And then you decide to raid Okran, right? Now you did all of this. The game never told you to do this. All the game did was make the world. All they did was make your starting scenario. You decided to become Okran's Pride enemy. You decided to build your army, and you decided to raid Okran's Pride. That's a cool thing about this game, is that this world is rich with lore. This world has a lot of personality, and this world is brutal. But if you're able to put in the work, you can craft your own story. Whatever you want to do, you can craft it. And that's a cool thing about this game. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like this. I have some friends who have played this and they don't like it. Personally, I fucking love this game. This game isn't for everyone. If you don't see the benefits and are willing to get your ass whooped like 20 times, then you're not going to like this game. But if you're able to deal with that, this game is a sandbox for storytelling. And it's a story that you decide to tell yourself. You know, you're able to build your bases. You have to keep your people fed. You're upgrading your people's gear as well. Making money by either farming, mining, or fighting other people, stealing their loot and selling that. I really like this game. It's hard to talk about this game unless if you played it yourself. Like I said, not everyone's going to like this. Now, I understand that not a lot of people like this game, but I do. And I was willing to put in the work, and I really like this game. I come back to play this game often, start myself in different scenarios. On paper, this game is very bare bones, but it's up to what you want to do. Thus, in my personal opinion, I think this game is high up there. I think this game is like a low A tier, but objectively speaking, I cannot put it on A tier. The open world survival craft is good. The game tells you nothing and motivates you to do nothing. You have to give yourself something to do. You have to motivate yourself. You have to write your own story. And that's what I love about this game. I would put this game at an A, but I simply cannot. I have to put this game on a low B tier. The thing is, I don't want this game to give me a goal. I don't want this game to motivate me. I want to give myself a goal. I want to motivate myself. And I like that about this game. Now, up next is a very similar game, RimWorld. Now, RimWorld is a bit more straightforward. Similar to like the last game, you have different starting scenarios. Base one is there are 3 crash landed colonists. Your job at the beginning is just to build a base, keep your people alive. After enough time, you build your base, but then you'll realize every once in a while you get raided. These people have good gear. You're not able to craft anything like that. You're basically in like the tribal stage. How are these people getting all this good gear? That's when you discover in one of these building sections, there is a research desk. Now, after you've built that research desk, you can research different things. For instance, you can research better clothes. So now your people can stop looking like barbarians. You can research blacksmithing. Now your people can make swords instead of just spears. You can research armor. Now your people are dressed out like knights. And then you can research machinery and weaponry. Now you guys are carrying bolt action rifles. And then you research advanced machinery. Now your guys are carrying around M4s. That's how the progression of this game works, right? You have to research something, and then your people are able to craft those things. Or you can just steal them off the bodies of people who try and raid you. But that's only the stuff that you can do in your map. There is your individual map, and then there is the world map. Now on the world map, it's filled with a bunch of factions. The people who've been raiding you. There are evil factions, there are good factions. Now maybe not too far away from your base, there are some good settlers, a good faction. And your base has been making beer like crazy. Well, now you can send a trading caravan to go trade. Now you got thousands of silver just from selling beer. And they want to sell you some rare animals or some rare weapons and loot. And there's a whole trading system there. But maybe on the other side, there's one of the evil factions. And these guys pissed you off. So you go and raid the camp. And when you raid the camp, there are a few survivors. Maybe there's like 3 survivors. Maybe like one of them is really cool and you want them. And the other 2 aren't that good. So you recruit the one good one, and then the other 2, you make them slaves. You can either have them working shitty jobs the entire time, or you can sell them to the good faction. Now, every once in a while, you'll get quests. One of the other factions will contact you about giving you a quest, like maybe building some items for them, or going to a nearby location and clear it out. Or maybe just any of the factions, good or bad, built a nearby lumber camp where they're making lumber, and your people are running out of lumber. So your people can go raid that lumber camp and steal the materials from them. And if it's a bad faction, no biggie. But if it's a good faction, now that good faction hates you, and they're gonna come raid you every once in a while. Now there is a main story. There isn't a lot of lore that's given to you about this world, but the main story is you've got to escape the planet. And somewhere on the planet, there's a downed ship. And your people got to get to this ship, repair it, defend the ship so it can start up, and then you'll escape the planet. That's the main goal of the game. I've never done that. Now, as we can see here, I've played this game for over 500 hours. I've had numerous playthroughs of this game, and I've never completed the main story. The main story isn't the point of the game. The point of your game, similar to Kenshi, it's like a story genre. But there is a main story if you want to do it. Maybe one of these faction raids my base way too much, so I end up raiding their camps and trying to wipe them off the face of the planet. That's usually what it ends up with me. Recently, I did a playthrough. I had a bunch of mods where my people were, I made them supremacist. I probably had like 15 colonists and like 20 slaves. And I would very often go raid some evil factions. Now my colonists, they would be geared to the teeth with weapons. And I would also bring the slaves with me. Now my slaves had clubs and nothing else. Some dinky tribal gear. Now what I would do is I would show up to the base, construct a little fort. Eventually the base would try and attack me because I'm building a fort. My people would be behind the walls, firing at the people from a distance. And then my slaves would charge straight into the enemy. My slaves would knock out some of their people. A couple of my slaves would die, but it would be fine. I'd end up knocking out more people than I've lost slaves. So then they turn into slaves. And I just repeatedly did that. Yeah, I'm a big slaver when it comes to RimWorld. The first time I played the game, slavery didn't sound too good to me. I don't like slavery. Slavery is not good. So I made everyone colonists. But then a bunch of my colonists were fucking useless. That made me upset. So I said, fuck it. Started making the people who weren't good slaves. I started sending them towards the enemies with nothing but clubs. Meanwhile, my good people were basically wearing knight's armor with M4s. Like I said, this game is a story generator. And I would say this game is better than Kenshi. 100%. If you are more casual and not willing to put in too much work, like in Kenshi, then RimWorld is definitely better for you. I'm going to put this in B tier, right above Kenshi. Alright, next up. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. Now, I bought this game at the same time I bought my friends Conan Exiles. They have it as well. We haven't played this one yet. Well, they haven't. I have. I played this game roughly about like 3 or 4 hours, I think it was. It was fine. I saw a video on it, so I wanted to play it, but it's all right. It honestly wasn't anything like the video presented it to be. So basically in this game, takes place after Lord of the Rings. A bunch of dwarves return to Moria to try and reclaim it from the orcs, which is basically a giant underground city. At the start of the game, you're kind of just a miner, mining through the entrance, trying to get to the underground city. Some shit happens, you get separated, and now you're trapped in the underground city. Your job, survive. There's some weird shit happening. Figure out what's happening. Stop it. I never got to that point. Like I said, I only played like 3 or 4 hours. Now, this game was fine. Maybe I haven't played it enough. You know, there's like a little tutorial zone area. Teaches you the survival mechanics, the survival crafting mechanics. Eventually, there are some orcs, kind of beat their ass, or they kick your ass. Build your little base. Now, the thing I saw in this video that I was telling you about is that your base gets raided, and that a lot of it is super destructible, as in, like, the cave is super destructible. When I played it, basically nothing was destructible. Maybe it was because I was, like, in the starting zone, but I did end up going to, like, I think, like, 2 or 3 other zones, where it progressively gets more difficult. Newer and tougher enemies. I think I started building on a second base in like the 3rd zone, but I didn't get much further than that. From what I saw, it was fine. But maybe it's gonna be another thing with Conan, where originally when I first played it, I didn't see much of it. Maybe once I come back and play it with my friends and put in more time, maybe I figure out this game is a lot better. But for now, from what I've seen, it's average. You know, it's good. I don't have a craving coming back to playing this game, but if my friends want to play, I'll come back and play it. But for now, Return to Moria, definitely gonna go in the C tier, above Belfront, above Enshrouded, but it's gonna go right below the Forest. Right? Oh, we've got like a perfect stair happening right now. That's the one thing about this genre, open world survival craft, is that there's a lot of the games, and a lot of them aren't good. There are some clear outstanding games like Ark, and some clear shitty games like Icarus and DayZ. Alright, up next, Medieval Dynasty. This game is pretty much just a worse version of Bellwright. It's Bellwright with less things to do. I played this game for roughly like 5 or 6 hours. Very boring. I tried to like it. I didn't like it. So I searched up videos about Medieval Dynasty, and that's when I found out about Bellwright. And Bellwright was just an upgraded version of Medieval Dynasty. More things to do. From what I remember, Medieval Dynasty didn't really have the whole NPC village thing going on. And that's what I wanted when I originally started playing Medieval Dynasty. I wanted like a medieval village survival open world crafting game, which Medieval Dynasty wasn't. Not need to go too much into it. I had the game long enough where I couldn't refund it anymore, but if I could have, I would have refunded it. No need to keep talking about this game. It's just a worse version of Bellwright. Thus, D tier. Below Scum, below Generation Zero, above Green Hill. Actually, no, below Green Hill. It's very basic, really boring. There wasn't much to do in it.
So we're already about halfway through the list, and the videos are almost like an hour long. There's no way I'm gonna make this video 2 hours long, so what I'm gonna do is the video is gonna stop here, and then we're gonna have a part 2, which I will upload either next week or the week afterwards, depending on what I decide to do. Before the video ends, let me do a question of the day. Of the games that are already on the tiers, do you agree with the rating of those games, or would you have them somewhere else, and why? Okay, yeah, end of video. See you guys later. Bye.